What are the best uniforms for every Major League Baseball team throughout the team's history? Today, I'm going to go through all 30 MLB teams in alphabetical order, and I will be giving my opinion on what is the best uniform for each given team. So first up, we have the Arizona Diamondbacks, and the uniform I am picking as their best uniform throughout their entire history is the 2001 to 2006 road uniforms. Now, these are the road uniforms that they wore during the 2001 World Series, and the uniforms you probably associate Randy Johnson with, Kurt Schilling, Luis Gonzalez, and the list can go on. The uniform is a great use of purple, copper, and teal, and the overall uniform has a good blend of traditional yet modern elements, at least modern for the time. From head to toe, it just is an overall really cool looking uniform, from the pinstripes to the number font to the colors to the hat they wore. It is just a really cool and unique uniform. Another thing too, before we move on, isn't it crazy that the Diamondbacks have worn their red colors or modern colors far longer than they ever wore the purple and teal? It's odd, I know, but that's the truth. Next up, we have the Atlanta Braves. So for the Atlanta Braves, they have some great looking uniforms throughout the history of their team. But for this one, I am going back to the past. And we're going back to the 1966 and 1967 road uniforms. Now, this is a perfect example of what a traditional and simplistic uniform looks like. It has every classical element I like in a jersey and uniform. It is just awesome looking. So starting from top, it is the traditional Braves hat that we know today, but then getting to the jersey part, it has the Braves script, which is with no tomahawk. It's a very simplistic design, but I think it's just a great looking uniform. And if the day ever comes where the Braves have to get rid of the tomahawk, I think this is a uniform they should go back to. Next up, we have the Baltimore Orioles 1995 to 2003 home uniforms. I personally find this look much more appealing than the one that they're actually currently wearing, even with their hat at the time, which had the more realistic Oriole. But even with that, I still think this is a better overall uniform than what they wear today. I think black as the primary color just looks a little bit better than the orange. I doubt we'll ever see this uniform combo again, but here's to hoping. Next up is the Boston Red Sox, and for them, I'm picking the 1979 to present home uniforms. The standard home uniform that the Red Sox have worn throughout most of the team's history is a classic for a reason. It's great looking, and they should never do anything to it. I'm glad that they ditched the pullover jersey and went back to this traditional look back in 1979, and therefore why I picked 79 to present day, because that's when they switched back to the traditional Red Sox home uniform that like Ted Williams wore. So hopefully they never change going forward, but who's to say? They probably never thought they were going to change back in the 70s, but they did. It is very similar, but they did change. Their present uniforms are great, and I wouldn't change a thing. Next up is the Chicago White Sox, and the White Sox uniforms that I had to pick are the 1990 to 1996 home uniforms without the names on the back of the jerseys. The White Sox have probably worn more uniforms and colors than any other team, but when they came out with this uniform set, it was a return to a more traditional uniform, and it was paying homage to their uniforms that they wore in the mid-1950s, just without the red highlights. And there's a reason the White Sox haven't really messed with their uniforms in the last 30 years. It's because they finally got it right, and they have good looking home, away, and alternate uniforms. And when the White Sox went to this traditional uniform, they also went back to a traditional looking hat, and from head to toe, the uniforms that they wear now are just timeless, and I think they can last another 30 years if they really want them to. But I did pick these particular years because I do prefer to have no name on the back of a traditional looking uniform like this one. Next up, I have the Chicago Cubs. I am picking the 1958 to 1968 road uniforms. These uniforms are another example of an awesome looking traditional and classic uniform. From head to toe, these uniforms are far superior than what the Cubs wear on the road today. The archbold text that just says Chicago is eye-catching, and the piping around the neck and sleeve is a nice touch, and the jersey itself becomes the best iteration of itself in 1962. When the Bear Cub patch is added, I'm not sure why, but that patch just really brings the whole uniform together for me. And of course, they are wearing the traditional Cubs hat that we know today, and it just incorporates so well with the overall uniform. Next up is the Cincinnati Reds, and I am picking the 1968 to 1971 home uniforms. This is very reminiscent to the uniforms they wore in the 70s, but the era of uniforms that I picked actually incorporate a button-down jersey and pants that utilized a belt. They're not just the elastic waistband pants and pullover jerseys. This uniform and jersey have no highlights with any other colors, just red and white, which to me is what the Reds are and should be. They should not incorporate any other colors. The Reds look their best when it's just red and white in their uniform. The Reds logo and number on the front of the jersey is iconic, and I personally think this uniform is the best iteration since there are no black accents or highlights added into the overall uniform. And of course, they are wearing the traditional Reds hat that we know today, just without any black highlights or drop shadows or anything like that. Next up is the Cleveland Indians / Guardians, and I'm picking the 1994 to 2001 blue alternate jersey uniform combo. They technically wore this uniform combo until 2011, but after 2001, the navy blue wasn't as dark on the blue jersey and on their blue hats, so I'm just gonna pick those particular years. The jersey is just a great alternate jersey that Cleveland wore on the road and at home throughout the jersey's lifetime. The dark navy blue paired really well with the silver piping around the neck and chest and around the sleeves, along with the Indian script across the chest and the Chief Wahoo patch on the sleeve, and the numbers on the back follow the same outline pattern as the front script on the jersey. And since this jersey was worn at home and away, it was paired with different variations of the hats throughout the years, whether it was the all navy blue hat or the navy blue hat with the red bill. Either way, I feel like this jersey was very versatile and looked good in any combination you wanted to put with it, either home or away. All blue hat with red bill, no matter what. It looked good. Next up is the Colorado Rockies, and I'm picking the 1993 black alternate jersey uniform combo. This particular black alternate jersey for the Rockies was very short-lived, but I think it was one of their best alternate jerseys they have ever done. Even though I read that the team only wore these jerseys twice back in 1993, I think the jersey pairs well with either home pants, away pants, whatever they want to do, and they can wear it either at home and away. And I wouldn't mind seeing them actually bring this jersey back in some capacity, because I believe right now the Rockies only wear their purple jersey as their alternate, so why not bring it back, right? Next up is the Detroit Tigers, and I'm picking the 1905 to present home uniforms. The Tigers have pretty much been wearing the same home uniform since the team's inception. They have taken some quick detours over the years, but they have always came back to the classic home uniform with the Old English D on the left side of the chest. It's a timeless and classic look and should always be worn by the Tigers. There's really not that much more to say. It's a great uniform from top to bottom, great looking hat, great looking uniform, and that's it. Following the Tigers, we have the Houston Astros, and I'm picking the 1975 to 1986 Tequila Sunrise uniforms. They actually wore those uniforms on the road and at home until 1980, when a more traditional gray uniform was introduced at the time. I'm usually not a fan of obnoxious color uniforms, but these are just so synonymous with the Astros and are easily their best uniform that the team has ever had, and they've had a ton of uniforms over the years. But without a doubt, I am picking the Tequila Sunrise uniforms as the best Astros uniforms. Following the Astros is the Kansas City Royals, and I'm picking the 2014 to 2021 alternate blue jersey uniform combo. I don't really have a great reason why I like it. I just think it is a really good alternate road look, and I think it pairs well with the road gray pants. And they paired it well with the traditional Royals hat, and it just overall came out to be a really good looking uniform. Next up is the Los Angeles Angels, and I'm picking the 2002 to 2003 road Anaheim uniform. The Angels only wore this particular uniform for 2 years after rebranding in 2002, but I think actually representing the city you play in was a lot better than wearing Angels on the road all the time for the road uniforms. For the time, the overall uniform was pretty awesome looking. Coming from those dorky Disney uniforms, these were a masterclass of uniform design, especially when the Angels actually had Anaheim on their road jerseys. To me, that just made for a better looking overall uniform that tied into the team all that much better. Following the Angels is the Los Angeles Dodgers, and I'm picking the 1999 to 2006 road uniforms. These uniforms are much more eye-catching than what they wear today. I usually like simplistic uniforms, but on this rare occasion, I think the blue piping around the neck, chest, and arm sleeves add a lot to the jersey, along with the Los Angeles script on the front and numbers and names on the back being highlighted in silver. The Dodgers technically have a modern road alternate jersey that has Los Angeles on the chest. They rarely wear it, and they opt to wear the one that says Dodgers most of the time. And I personally just think this is a really good jersey and overall uniform that didn't last long enough. Also too, I prefer when this particular jersey had the name on the back of the jersey, because I guess in 2005 they got rid of the nameplate on the back of the jersey and it just doesn't look quite right. Definitely prefer it with the name on the back. Following the Dodgers is the Miami Marlins, and I'm picking the 2003 to 2011 black jersey alternate uniform combo that the Florida Marlins wore. The Marlins had great uniforms until 2012, but I think the black jersey that they wore when they won the World Series in 2003 is by far my favorite. It just incorporated all their colors so well, and everything just popped out on the field. The jersey was worn at home and on the road and paired great with either gray or white pants, and with their awesome looking old hat with the F and the fish. This is just a great overall looking uniform. Here's to hoping that the Marlins eventually go back to teal, silver, and black as their main colors. Unfortunately, that's probably not going to happen. Next up is the Milwaukee Brewers, and I'm picking the 2020 to present blue jersey alternate uniform combo. The Brewers' recent redesign is one of the best I have seen in recent memory, and their whole uniform slate is really good, but I just like the blue jersey the best. I think it pairs really well with the road or home pants, and the yellow on the navy blue jersey just really pops, and when they wear their navy blue hat with yellow in it, it just looks really great. It really is eye-catching on the field, and I would imagine we will be seeing these current Brewer uniforms for many years to come because, again, they just hit it out of the park with all these. Next up is the Minnesota Twins, and I'm picking the 1987 to 2009 road uniforms. I'll be honest, I've gone back and forth over the years on if I really like road pinstripes or not, but I think the Twins really rocked them back in the day. And since they've returned to road pinstripes in 2023, it makes me long for their better iteration of it, because the new road uniforms just aren't cutting it. They look so bad. The M that they have with this uniform looks like the Marlins M. They have pinstripes and piping going down the leg, which I don't love. It was fine in the 80s, but I don't think it looks very good today. The old version of the uniforms is just far superior. Regardless though, when I think of the Twins, I think of them in their gray road pinstripes, and that probably had a lot to do with MLB The Show because Joe Mauer was on the cover for 2 straight games, and I believe in both of those years he was wearing the Twins road gray pinstripes. Next up is the New York Yankees, and I am picking the 1936 to present home uniforms. For those that don't know, 1936 was when the Yankees added the interlocking NY to their home uniforms, and the rest is history. I know there have been minor alterations to the font of the letters and maybe a few other things that I've overlooked, but the Yankees home uniforms are largely untouched since 1936. Love them or hate them, baseball wouldn't be the same with the Yankees, and those legendary home pinstripes didn't exist. And following the Yankees, we have the New York Mets, and I am picking the 1999 to 2008 road black New York jersey uniform combo. The Mets love to incorporate black into their uniforms in the late 90s and early 2000s. During that time, the Mets used my favorite jersey of theirs, that being the black jersey alternate that said New York across the chest. Now, don't be confused with the other black jersey that they wore during that period that said Mets across the chest that they wore at home during that era. Both are really good looking jerseys in my opinion. I just like the Tuscan New York font a little bit more, and I think it pairs with the gray pants quite well. And when they would wear this uniform combo, they also wore the black Mets hat. The black hat also paired really well with the overall uniform and just tied into that overall era of Mets baseball so well. Next up is the Oakland A's, and I am picking the 1987 to present day home uniforms. Talk about a sharp looking uniform. Still to this day, I think the A's have what I consider the best home uniform, and that's coming from a Mariners fan. They are timeless and classic and always pop on the field with the green and gold coloring on the pristine white uniforms. Next up is the Philadelphia Phillies, and I am picking the 1970 to 1991 home uniforms. These uniforms are definitely a product of its era, but there is just something about these uniforms that really still scream cool to me. They are very busy uniforms and admittedly kind of ugly, but they just have some great character to them and look great out on the field. I doubt we'll ever see the Phillies ever go back to maroon full time, but either way, what a unique color and uniform set. Following the Phillies, we have the Pittsburgh Pirates, and I am picking the 1957 to 1970 home vest uniforms. The Pirates have a timeless look and have gone through many alterations throughout the years, but their absolute best look is with their vest from this era. They had a modern version of this uniform back in the 2000s, but I have to give it to the original as the best looking uniform in Pirates history. From the simplistic hat to the vest to the overall uniform, it's just the best. Next up is the San Diego Padres, and I'm picking the 2016 home uniform. This uniform only existed for 1 year, but I thought it was a great one. From the navy blue hat with the interlocking white and yellow SD to the blue and yellow color scheme on the jersey and pants, I thought it was a great look, and it blended in the various colors over the years quite well, but sadly it didn't last all that long, and by 2017 they're wearing some incredibly basic navy blue and home white uniforms that looked tired before they were even on the field. But those 2016 home unis will always pop out to me as being one of their best uniforms. Following the Padres, we have the San Francisco Giants, and I'm picking the 2000 to 2020 home uniforms. The Giants had some of the best uniforms in all of baseball, but the Giants had to go and ruin the jersey by putting the name on the back of the home jerseys. It just looks so ugly, and the numbers and font just look too small after seeing big numbers on the back of the jersey for 20 years. Either way, the 20-year run of this great looking uniform was a nod to the uniforms that they wore in the 1950s, and they did a a fantastic job paying homage to the original. Some jerseys should just never have the players' names on the back, and the Giants' homes are definitely one of those jerseys. Following the Giants is the Seattle Mariners, and I'm picking the 1993 to 2014 Mariners road uniforms. This era for the road uniforms was the best the Mariners ever had to offer in terms of uniforms. I know in 2001 they added the compass rose and ball to the S of the Seattle on front of the chest, but the unis from this era were just timeless classics, and they had to go and ruin them in 2015 by adding silver to everything on the knob, on the numbers, even the front of the jersey where it says Seattle, there's silver there, where before it was just white, northwest green, and navy blue, and on the back of the jerseys it was just northwest green and navy blue. When they added the silver in, it just got way too busy looking, and it was a definite downgrade from the original look. Furthermore, the Mariners hate the grays so much that they don't even wear them anymore. In 2023, they completely ditched the gray jersey, which is incredibly annoying as a Mariners fan. Either way, I guess we'll always have those great looking uniforms from 1993 to 2014. Next up is the St. Louis Cardinals, and I'm picking the 2013 to present Cardinals cream home uniforms. The Cardinals have great uniforms, but the cream alternate is just an elite looking uniform for me. The overall uniform is just great. There is nothing to nitpick with this one, so a tip of the cap to the Cardinals for a great looking uniform. Next up is the Tampa Bay Rays. So I'm going back to the days when they were the Devil Rays, and I'm picking the 2005 to 2007 Devil Rays road vest uniforms. The Rays hit it out of the park with this one. I love the Rays old colors, and I thought the black and green with a dash of blue made for an awesome and unique uniform. Sadly, this uniform set as a whole was very short-lived. The road vest uniform and the whole uniform set that they wore during this era deserved probably a lot more praise, but sadly it didn't, due to the team wearing the uniform was just completely dreadful at the time. And soon after, in 2008, the Rays did their whole big rebrand, changing their name, changing their colors. Either way, this will always be a top uniform for me that the Devil Rays wore back in the day. Following the Rays, we have the Rangers. I'm picking the 2000 to 2019 road uniforms. This is by far the Rangers' best uniform they have ever had. The Texas across the chest is just perfect size, and their font has always been unique and eye-catching. I know they pretty much still wear this road jersey, but it's a little bit altered and not for the better. The piping on the arm sleeve is now gigantic to match their gigantic piping on their pants, and I think it just looks awful. Less is more in most cases when it comes to uniforms, and this is definitely one of those cases. The Rangers are a lot like the Mariners, where they changed up the uniforms not too drastically, but ultimately it still ended up being a downgrade across the board. Next up is the Toronto Blue Jays, and I'm picking the 2012 to present alternate blue jersey uniform combo. I know a lot of folks really like the Blue Jays uniforms, but I'll be honest, I'm not really one of those people. Look, I'm glad that they went back to their original look, or a version of their original look. I know it's not exact, but even then, it was hard for me to actually pick my favorite uniform from them, so that's kind of where we're at. The blue jersey alternate that gets worn at both home and away looks solid enough, and it far exceeds those god-awful baby blue or powder blue uniforms, whatever you want to call them, that they wear now. Those are so incredibly ugly. I just can't stand those uniforms. Last but not least, we have the Washington Nationals, and I'm picking the 2005 to 2008 Nationals road uniforms. I really liked how when the Nationals first became the Nationals, they really committed themselves to a road and home look. Both uniforms incorporated gold into their uniforms, which I still find cool to this day. I thought it made for a nice contrast between the two, all while still incorporating the country's colors into their uniforms. Furthermore, there are enough red and blue teams in baseball, and any team that figures out how to break it up a little bit gets props from me. The overall uniform was very short-lived, but the Nationals did a really good job with it. Also, the navy blue hat that they wore at this time was very slick, and they should really consider bringing that back in some way. That wraps up this video. Let me know your favorite uniforms down in the comment section below, and while you're down there, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, that'd be greatly appreciated. Until next time, guys, everyone have a great day. Thanks for watching.